If you want to live longer, healthier lives, you need to watch this video. Not only is this the first video in my series on health span and longevity, but this one is deeply personal. I want to share knowledge and insights that I have gained as a medical professional, working over the years trying to figure out how things worked for me and my patients, so that you can use some of these insights, apply them today, so that you can protect your greatest asset, which is your health, for years and decades to come. If there is one thing that I wish somebody sat me down and explained how it works, it is this. Having high blood sugar along with high insulin are some of the most dangerous things for our health that will quietly destroy our health over the time that nobody taught us how to pay attention to. You see, even with normal blood work that you get on your yearly physical, there is a very good chance that you are pre-diabetic. And I say that because 93% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, and about 40% of us in the United States already have prediabetes, with that number rising up, especially in younger folks, so kids and young adults. The problem with that is that many of us are unaware of this silent metabolic storm that's causing damage over the years and sometimes even decades. And some of this damage will become irreversible once we finally get that diagnosis of diabetes. This damage will shorten our health span, which is number of years that you live in good health, and also will shorten our lifespan, which is number of years that you live. If you're thinking, what's a big deal about having a little elevated blood sugar or even having a diagnosis of prediabetes? Isn't that less intense than having diabetes? Then this video is especially for you. Hear me out, because I was you not too long ago. Prediabetes not only increases your risk of diabetes, which is one of the 4 horsemen of death, but it also increases your risk of the other 3 horsemen: cancer, dementia, and cardiovascular disease, so things like strokes and heart attacks. What's more, people with prediabetes are also at increased risk of dying from all-cause mortality. That's why by the end of this video, you will know what I spent years studying, and that is why prediabetes is driving this risk of premature early death and what you can do about it, where small, consistent daily actions can help you course correct towards good health and longevity. It is my belief that we medical professionals, doctors and pharmacists, are not doing enough because we're not given enough time and resources to truly help you. You don't have statin, metformin, or GLP-1 deficiency. It is our lifestyle that is killing us. I wanted to make this video series for a really long time. And the reason is I want to share what I have learned, both as a medical professional and a patient myself. I work with exclusive clients, and I know there are many of us who are looking for a reliable source of information, somebody we can trust, somebody who has lived it, and somebody who can help us really gain clarity on what to do. I have several family members who have prediabetes and diabetes and other cardiometabolic diseases. I work with many clients and patients over the years who have had them and were able to reverse them, some without medications, some with needing the medication. I have diabetes too. I was able to reverse my diabetes without relying on medications, but it took me a few years trying to get it right. Don't get me wrong, as a pharmacist, I fully believe in science and also the power of medications and pharmacology. But I also have seen it repetitiously using medications as band-aids as opposed to bridges to getting us into good health. Also, in my case, the older I got, the less forgiving my habits, which I thought were healthy, were. I was still eating about the same food that I ate before, but I struggled with blood sugar control. This was especially true as I unknowingly entered perimenopause and later entered menopause. As reassuring as it is to have medications that kept my blood sugar down, or at least kept my labs within the normal ranges, I also did not want to rely on them. I wanted longevity for life, good health for life. What's more important for me, I was propelled to learn what the heck was going on inside my cells that got me to the point where the same type of food that I was eating before, or the same diet that both my husband and I ate, resulted in me having cardiometabolic issues and not him. We all think that we're being healthy. I know that I did. I ate relatively clean, healthy. I trained sports and martial arts my whole life. I was at the gym all the time. All the things that we are told are part of normal, modern day life, like packaged, processed, convenient food, prolonged sitting, social isolation, chronic stress, are slowly decaying our health and killing us. So it's no surprise that the rates of morbidity and mortality, which essentially means getting sick and dying from, are high with not only those 4 horsemen of that I mentioned, but also with other preventable chronic diseases. And what's more concerning, we're starting to see that now in younger folks. So all of us are aging more rapidly. And I'm not talking about how we look, I'm talking about the cellular aging. Cellular aging is the #1 cause of chronic diseases. I don't want any one of us to die prematurely the way that my parents did. This is how serious these conditions are. This tug of war between high insulin, high sugar, which is what we refer to as insulin resistance. Although emerging science is trying to figure out what exactly is insulin resistance and should we even call it insulin resistance, one thing is abundantly clear. Whatever we call it, correcting it is a must if you want to spend your life living in good health. I want me, you, all of us, to live in good health, in vitality, well into our 8th and 9th decade. And if you're thinking, well, Dr. Adriana, that doesn't sound really realistic for me, considering my maybe family history or my personal beliefs, I hear you, get it. But I also believe that knowledge sets you free, and that if you can change your habits, this is more than possible. My name is Dr. Adriana Kekic. I am a pharmacist and nutritionist trained in genetics. I am a founder of Concierge Longevity Company, where we help people, high-impact individuals who want to own their health, live long and healthy. I have studied cellular mechanisms for 3 decades, and for the past 20 years, working as a clinical pharmacist, including at the nation's leading hospital, I became obsessed with sciences of genes, molecules, and longevity, but also of practices that I have seen with those who live in vitality and chronic disease-free, metabolically healthy, well into their 7th, 8th, 9th, and even 10th decade of life. What I have learned over this time is that living in good health is not about luck, and certainly it's not about your genes, at least not for the most of us. It is about knowing your cells and what they are so desperately trying to communicate to you. Most of us, including healthcare professionals, are not yet trained in this new way of looking at health, which is based on system biology approach. More on that in another video. But the reason I bring this up is because we are not yet trained in those principles. We are not able to pick up on those early distress signals coming from your cells. In this series of videos, I want to share with you insights that I gained over the years of learning on what you can do to recognize some of those things and then what you can do to course correct them. The first step in addressing any problem is knowing that you have a problem. And Houston, we've got a problem. And that problem is called insulin resistance. This condition is so insidious that most of us actually have it without knowing that we do. But if you learn how to listen, what your body is communicating, this cellular banging becomes a signal of clarity, then you can then act on. Both symptoms and numbers can reveal it. So we're going to start with symptoms first. Your weight gain, brain fog, frequent infections, feeling really tired, especially after meals, having sugar cravings, moodiness, stubborn belly fat, and more are not part of just normal aging, or maybe your stressed lifestyle. These are often early signs of insulin resistance, prediabetes, and sometimes even diabetes that can go on undetected. These symptoms have become so common for many of us that we no longer think of them as something abnormal. We think of them just as a part of our daily life or just part of getting older. Again, they're not. To be frank with you, these conditions, insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, they are difficult to address, especially if you don't know to recognize the symptoms and also if you don't know what to do. I really wish it were as easy as the well-meaning advice that we all get, which is take this pill, eat less, and move more. This is not how it works. Speaking about how it works, we are still focused on wrong numbers. So here's what I mean. I no longer focus on hemoglobin A1C, or for short, A1C. This would be your average blood sugar over the last 3 months when we check your blood sugar on the blood work. The reason is you can have normal A1C, typically it's under 5.7, and still be developing this metabolic storm that's going to cause damage over time. By the time you're diagnosed with prediabetes, which would be A1C between 5.7 to about 6.4, and diabetes, which is anything above 6.4, the damage has already been accumulating over the years and in some cases over the decades. That was the case for me. I developed gestational diabetes in my second trimester of pregnancy. And after the pregnancy, I asked for CGM, continuous sugar or glucose monitor. The reason is I wanted to understand what was going on, considering that I really did not change my habits that much, lifestyle, meaning what I ate and even how I moved. But I was denied because my A1C and blood sugar were just a nail under pre-diabetic range. At least half of women who develop gestational diabetes are at risk of developing pre-diabetes and diabetes. Many of them go on to develop full-on diabetes, which was the case for me. Because this process is so insidious, you're thinking, oh, I'm living a healthy lifestyle, my blood sugar is under control, my overall labs are within the normal ranges, I'm eating healthy, I'm going to the gym 3 times a week, if not more. That exactly is the part that worries me about all of this. The part where we think we're living healthy existence, but in reality, there is a decay that is happening within. This is why I want to explain what insulin resistance is and why correcting it is the single most important thing you can do for your cardiometabolic health and overall for your health span and longevity. So let's get started. Every time you eat, your food is broken down, which eventually will cause your blood sugar to rise. Your divinely designed body will say, oh, I know what to do. I am going to bring that blood sugar to my safe levels. And your body does that by activating pancreas, which is an organ, that will then pump out this hormone called insulin. Insulin will bring that blood sugar down. Insulin works as a little key that will knock on the door of your cells and will unlock that door to then allow blood sugar, so the sugar that's floating in your bloodstream, to then go through the door and enter inside of those cells, especially brain and muscle cells that are really craving that sugar. Once inside of the cell, that sugar has 2 destinies. One, it becomes energy. Second, it can be stored and be used for making energy later on. But when we start eating processed food, refined sugars, which are hidden in our processed food, or high amounts of sugary foods over a long time period, our cells are no longer responding to the knocking of insulin trying to unlock those cellular doors. So the excess sugar can no longer go from your blood through that door into your cells. Instead, it stays in your bloodstream. Because you have high blood sugar, your pancreas says, I know what to do. I'm going to pump more insulin to bring that sugar down. And it does that for some time. Eventually, your pancreas will exhaust, get tired, because it can no longer keep up with the demands. Once that happens, your blood sugar is going to start to rise. This is that insidious part that I was referring to earlier. The reason being that when your pancreas can pump enough insulin to keep the blood sugar down, your A1C is going to look normal. We typically don't check your fasting insulin or another biomarker called HOMA-IR that I'll talk about later. Those biomarkers are a better indication of what's happening inside of your body, inside of your cells. If you have high insulin, that means that your pancreas is trying to keep up with demands of high blood sugar. When you reach the time point where your pancreas can no longer pump enough insulin to keep the blood sugar down, this is what's going to show up on your blood work either as prediabetes or diabetes. And that is exactly what worries me, because you have spent now years, in some cases even decades, living in this inflamed, damaged state before you're given the diagnosis. Now, having the diagnosis does not mark the beginning of that process or the disease, which typically will ring the bells to say either we need to set you on a really strict lifestyle change or get you on a medication. The problem is the damage has already been done to your arteries, to your kidneys, your heart, your eyes, your brain. If not corrected early, where the damage control can still work, you are on the path to premature cellular aging, which then translate into conditions like dementia, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, but also things like arthritis, inflammation, neuropathy, loss of vision, and more. This deadly combination of high blood sugar and high insulin causes inflammation and damage to your arteries, also increases oxidative stress, which can fry your mitochondria. Those are powerhouses of your cell that make energy and do a lot more, and also can make your arteries stiff and narrow. This can lead to blood clots, which I have personally experienced, as well as my family members, many of my patients and clients. But this also can lead to things that I mentioned already: heart attacks, strokes, damage to your kidneys. And your kidneys have to filter all that excess sugar out. So it should be no surprise to you when I say that a lot of blood sugar lowering medications actually work in your kidneys. This inflammation can damage small blood vessels inside of your eyes, which can cause vision changes, deterioration, and eventually blindness. You may have heard of dementia being called diabetes 3 or type 3 diabetes, and it is because of what I just described. Having high blood sugar along with high insulin, having this inflammation can damage your brain cells, which initially may feel like brain fog, then can lead to cognitive impairment, and then eventually, as it progresses, can lead to dementia. This is also why one-size-fits-all approach falls short. It is not enough. We need to change this. Taking a medication can help you, but if you continue to live the lifestyle that got you there in the first place, then you're still not preventing the consequences of this metabolic devastation, which again are not part of normal aging or getting older. I say that with certainty because I have met around the globe, I have met a number of people who are in their 80s, 90s, and even some centenarians, those who are 100 and above, who are metabolically healthy. They have sharp mind, they have vital body, they're gardening, they're hiking, playing tennis, dancing, they're enjoying life and being independent. This is exactly what I want for me, and this is what I want for all of us. I bet you that you know somebody who has prediabetes or diabetes. Perhaps it is you or your family member or a close friend. This is very common because we also normalize not feeling well. And yet, this is not normal. I want us all to face the truth so that we can do something about it together. We humans are incredibly adaptive. We evolved to adapt to our environments, and what is happening right now with insulin resistance is another type of adaptation to our modern unhealthy environment. So sedentary lifestyle, ultra-processed food, which are conveniently available at any point in time, social isolation, chronic stress, disconnect from self, nature, and sunlight. With the exception of the past 100 years, especially the last 50 years, we humans have always been active. We lived in tight-knit communities, and we lived and ate with seasons. Real food, and it doesn't matter, it came in variety, either from plants or animals or combination of those things. We did not eat manufactured food, which is made to be highly addictive and inflammatory. We ate and made food that was designed by nature, that did not spike our blood sugar to previously unseen or unheard of levels that were essentially monumentally high levels of blood sugar. So these high blood sugar spikes that eventually will lead into drops. Our biology has not evolved for this. Evolution takes time, and I am convinced that the chronic diseases that we're seeing today, that are on the rise today, are the direct consequence of this. We live in bodies that are not adapted to modern demands. The result that we're seeing, therefore, is this global epidemic that is called insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes. The standard medical advice does not cut it. Cut out white bread, white rice, eat less, move more. And this is not a commentary on me or on my colleagues. I know how hard we all work and with what resources. Many of us sacrifice our own health while we're caring for others. Your primary care physician has about average 7 to 15 minutes to see you and address all of the ailments that you have to share with them at that visit. So many of us then turn to social media or friends and family for advice on what to do, only to end up with questionable advices and practices. And I have seen it all, from days of sardine diet to peptide stacks. White bread and rice are replaced by another packaged food, typically marketed as a healthy alternative, either as high protein, low carbs, or low fat. What needs to happen so that you can reverse the course and prevent the damage is the entire lifestyle overhaul, and nutrition is only one part of it. If you want the real results, you cannot expect major results if you're playing in minors league. You need to rethink and change what, how, and when you eat. Same goes with movement and recovery, sleep, stress, relational health, and truly personalized medications and supplements that are tailored to your biology, not somebody else's. This is the work that I do personally and work that I do with my own clients, which is based on these 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine that I just mentioned. If you're metabolically unhealthy, so if you have high insulin, high sugar, even normal to slightly elevated A1C, then the biggest lever you're going to pull on, work on, is going to be nutrition. It's not going to be only what you eat, it's going to be how you eat and when you eat. And here are some of the main principles that I live by and those that I preach. First, eat real food. Focus on protein, fiber, fat, fermented foods, and complex carbs, especially if you're a woman of childbearing age and women entering perimenopause and menopause. You still need your carbs. So think fruits, sweet potatoes, and yes, even rice and bread, like sourdough bread, for example, may be what your body needs. It just depends on your biology. Second, don't snack. You want to keep your insulin levels as stable as possible, and frequent snacking will basically get your insulin to spike up. 3, I see excellent results for folks who are metabolically unhealthy and are trying to course correct to keep the eating window confined. Typically it's between 6 to 10 hours, and keeping meals consistent, typically 2 to 3 meals during that time period. 4, have your last meal be at least 3 hours before you go to bed. 5, move at least 10 minutes after each meal. And finally, chew your food, at least 40 to 60 chews per every bite. Why? This is going to produce hormones that are communicating between these two brains, the brain in your gut and the central brain here, causing the feeling of satiety. In the next video, I am going to go over what this could look like on a daily basis. Now, if you're like me and you're thinking, wow, this feels and sounds overwhelming, I get it. If you're thinking, I don't have time for this, I hear you. This is hard. Taking a pill is easier. Hard is better. The point of this video is not to make you feel deflated or anxious. The point of this video is to take action. Insulin resistance is reversible. I've done it myself, and I've done it with many folks who have done some of the principles we're going to be covering. Your cells know exactly what to do. Your body is designed to heal itself. So if you have watched this video to the very end, congratulations on taking the first step towards being metabolically healthy. Know that I'm with you. Know that I have walked this path and I still do. I try to do every day what I preach, but also know that this is not about perfection. This is building those steps, simple steps that lead to monumental changes over time. So remember, progress over perfection. For our future, we will build on knowledge with each video, but for those of you who want deeper insights, please check out my Substack where I go deep dive. Each of the editions is a masterclass in cardiometabolic health. First one was on Lp(a), lipoprotein(a), which is genetically imprinted biomarker of cardiometabolic health. The other one is on ApoB, and this current one is going to be on insulin resistance. So in short, know your cells to know yourself. Until the next video.